Welcome to another episode of the Stampede. I'm your host, Stephen Foster, and this is the Shady Sports Network. Tonight, helping us break down the game between the Mustangs and the Bandits is the Mustangs' own radio announcer and play-by-play commentator, Colton DeBiase. Colton, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Colton, where are you from originally?
Steve, I am originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I moved to Gillette in August to become the sports director at the Basin Radio Network. That is why I am having the great pleasure of broadcasting the Gillette Mustangs games for the 2023 season. I have loved every minute of it.
Fantastic. Colton, what a great game that was last weekend between the Bandits and the Mustangs. Before we break the game down score by score, what was your overall thought on the game and the environment that it was played in?
Oh, my goodness, Steve. That was a rowdy environment. Been to Omaha already and been to Sioux City. I had a feeling that Sioux City, with their passionate fan base, was going to bring the heat in the game. And boy, oh boy, they did. Where I was right in the thick of where the fans were. They brought a fantastic atmosphere, knowing that it was going to be a close game, knowing it was going to come down to the final minute, just like it was when the Mustangs and the Bandits played in Gillette. And boy, oh boy, did the game not disappoint. I think I said to end the broadcast, if this is not in the category of a game of the year when the CIF season comes to an end, then I don't know what other game may top that. Maybe the Salina-Sioux City game a little earlier on in the year. But boy, oh boy, it was a great game. And just very happy that the Mustangs were able to pull out a win.
I agree. It was a great game. So let's get into breaking it down a little bit. So after the Mustangs kicked the ball into the stands on the opening kickoff, setting the Bandits up at midfield, that Mustangs defense went to work, forcing a quick 3-and-out that actually saw the offense of the Bandits move backwards. This brought out the kicking unit and ultimately missed wide left, putting the offense of the Mustangs set up at the 5 for their opening drive. Colton, you get to watch this offense or this defense week in, week out. How fun has it been watching this unit develop over the course of the season?
Oh, my goodness, Steve. Head coach Cedric Walker, he's also the defensive coordinator for the Mustangs. He has done a terrific job really putting the pieces in place together for this defense, even though there was a little streak that was broken during the game on Saturday. The Mustangs they lead the CIF in interceptions. They have had at least one interception in all of their games, but unfortunately that was broken against Sioux City. They did not have an interception in the game, but still able to pick up the win. As I knew that the Mustangs, in order for them to win the game, they needed to get off to a strong start, and it's just everything was clicking on all cylinders for the Mustangs in the first quarter. I'm sure we'll get to that a little later on.
Oh, yeah. First offensive drive could not have gone any better as quarterback Mike Pena just dinked and dunked his way down the field, and the offense punched it in on a short yardage run. Colton, Mike Pena has been a dominant offensive weapon, both running the ball and throwing it. How much of a factor has he been in each of these games?
Steve, when I was preparing for this game, I was looking at the stats and I was like, oh my goodness, boy, Mike has really ran the ball this year. I think coming into the game, he was at least in the top 5 in the CIF with rushing attempts. And boy, it's just been so fun watching the versatility and the dual threat that Mike Pena has brought to the occasion for the Mustangs. And he has really made plays when the Mustangs have needed him to throughout the wins that Gillette has had, including the winning touchdown for the Mustangs that I'm sure we'll get to later on as well. It's just overall, it's just been so fun watching Mike Pena, offensive coordinator, big play. Reggie Gray has done a terrific job with Pena and this offense so far, and I just can't wait to see how it's going to be for the final 3 games of the year of the regular season.
I absolutely agree. So second drive offensively for the Bandits saw more of the same thing. We saw in the first drive. That was a quick 3-and-out that led to another missed field goal wide left. Second drive offensively for the Mustangs saw more of the same thing for them as well, as they once again took the ball from the 5 all the way down, scoring a second touchdown of the game, taking a 14-0 lead. This drive pretty much ended the first quarter. And based on how the game was going up to this point, I thought this game was going to be a blowout or kind of be one-sided. 14-0 end of the first quarter. Did you feel the same way?
Well, Steve, as It's just as a fan, I was hoping that the Mustangs were able to put the game away early. But knowing Sioux City, they were at home. Sioux City has been one of the more dominant teams in the CIF this year. I was like, okay, I know that former Mustangs quarterback Taz Wilson was going to put on a show to start the second half. And boy, oh boy, did they, to say the least.
If you're not lying, because on the Bandits' very next drive, they quickly put all those thoughts to sleep as they scored in like 3 plays, bringing the score of the game to 14-6. But they failed to convert on the very next possession. Quarterback Mike Pena, rare overthrow of his receiver that was picked off by the Bandits. I thought the Bandits' next drive had stalled, and then when they were forced to attempt their 3rd field goal of the game, they missed. However, on the attempt, the Mustangs were called for an illegal defense, and it went from 4th and 14 to 4th and 9. The Bandits put their offense back on the field and scored a touchdown on the very next play. They take a 15-14 point lead when they convert on the third on a 3-point play. My question to you, Colton, is what did you think of the illegal defensive call? And then what did you think of the Bandits putting their offense back out on the field?
Well, I knew that. Well, I think I said this on the broadcast. I thought that they were going to go back to the field. It was like, oh, never mind. They are going to go for it. And I had a feeling they were going to. They had the momentum. That was that offensive possession that you mentioned, Steve, when Mike Pena threw his 2nd interception of the year. That was his first since the first game against Rapid City back in March. And I really didn't get to see what the illegal defense was. No knock on the officials, but I don't think that they mentioned what the illegal defense was for. One of the DNs might have been lined up outside. But anyway, I was I don't know if I was that surprised knowing Sioux City had the momentum. I'm sure they wanted to get a touchdown, and they did to take the lead. And my thought was like, well, just shows how fast things can turn in an arena football game with Sioux City already having the lead with what I got it right here. That was like, it was only 7 minutes into the quarter. And I was like, well, 2 touchdowns already for Sioux City in the second quarter. And we got ourselves a dogfight in the Tyson Event Center.
Yes, we did. On the next drive for the Mustangs, they quickly got themselves back in the end zone for another Mike Pena touchdown. And after another successful PAT, the Mustangs were up 21-15. Now, on the very next kickoff, the Mustangs go for an onside kick and recover it. A very gutsy call at that point in the game, in my opinion. What did you think?
Shock of the game, Steve, and I did not expect them to go onside at all. That was the first time that the Mustangs have tried an onside kick because they have never had a need to. It's always been a significant lead at the end of games whenever the Mustangs have won or to their loss against Omaha. I was like, onside kick, and boy, oh boy, the Mustangs just, one thing about CIF football is you cannot be afraid to lose in every single decision that you make. And Cedric Walker electing to try to go for the onside, and it worked. It's just unfortunately, I know we're going to talk about it. The Mustangs come up empty with Sioux City getting the ball and having a crazy way to end the first half.
Yeah, I was just going to get into that. So the Mustangs, they would drive all the way down the field under 10 seconds to go. They would fumble the ball and give the ball back to the Bandits. And with 3 seconds left on the clock, they threw up a Hail Mary that came a half a foot short of scoring a touchdown. What a way to end the half.
Al Pacino's favorite quote is a game of inches from any given Sunday, and this game was a game of inches with a few other plays that we're going to get to later on. It's just, we knew going into the game that D front was going to be a problem for the Mustangs with how many sacks lead in the CIF and sacks. I can't remember how much they had exactly going into the game, but knowing that Sioux City's front, they were going to get the Mike Pena on the offensive line, had to stay strong for the Mustangs, and a little scare for Gillette to end the first half with, boy, oh boy, that defense putting up a big stop to end the half as the Mustangs and the Bandits, it was still close, however, going to the locker room.
Yes, it was. So first possession of the second half saw more of the same for the Mustangs offense as they marched right down the field. But that stingy defense of the Bandits forced a field goal that was successful, putting the Stangs up 24-15 with about 9:20 to go in the third quarter. Colton, up to this point in the game, the special teams of the Mustangs have played a huge role, especially the kicking game. In your opinion, how important is it to have a qualified kicker on the roster?
Well, Steve, and also Neufeld, the Mustangs kicker, he's only dressed for 3 games, I believe. He made his appearance against Topeka, and then he also played against the Invaders, with the Mustangs deciding to go old school midway through the season with the new rule changes. The Mustangs wanted to experiment with the 3 and 4 point conversions, and that's something Sioux City has done, as it was old school versus new school with the special teams. I liked that the Mustangs were going to this new school style of play with the 3 and 4 point conversions, really taking advantage of it for the first half of the season. But I think there was some kicking problems with field position, especially. I think that's why that the Mustangs decided to get a kicker on to the roster, and it really has proven well with field position. I think I can understand why the Mustangs wanting to do that, knowing that it's only a 50-yard field in arena football, and it's worked out for them so far.
So the scoring cooled off for both teams on their next couple of possessions, but the Bandits pull within 3 when they score on a play that was Sports Center top 10 worthy, with that receiver going over the wall like that. Unfortunately, they failed to convert the 3-point play, and heading into the fourth quarter, the Mustangs lead 24-21. The Mustangs answer quickly, adding another touchdown on a beautiful pass from Pena to Higgins, making the score 30-21. But the Bandits blocked the extra point, keeping it a 9-point game. To me, this game was like a heavyweight boxing match, and both boxers trading punches. For the Bandits, they strike on their next possession, bringing the game back within 3 points, but fail to tie it up on the conversion. Question for you. The Mustangs can never really put the Bandits away, making this game close throughout the contest. Do you prefer to call games that are close and tight versus, say, calling a blowout?
Well, oh boy, Steve, that's a great question. It's really exciting just to feel that adrenaline rush when there is a close battle. And the Mustangs have been on both sides of this. They have had a few games where they have won pretty handily, and then they have had a few games that have gone down to the wire. The games down to the wire are really fun to call, Steve, and it's just, as a broadcaster, that is what I prefer to do. It just keeps the enthusiasm up. It keeps the excitement up for the fans at home watching, and for the fans that are seeing the game in person at the arena. So I would have to go with having these close games, even though it's funny being a broadcaster for a team. You want them to win. It's always more sweet whenever they get a hard-fought win in a close game like they did last Saturday.
So the next counterpunch by the Mustangs comes in the form of Mike Pena taking the read option all the way to the house on a long touchdown run, putting the Stangs up by 9. They tried a 2-point conversion that would have given them a 2-score advantage, but failed to convert. So with a little under 5 minutes in the game, the Mustangs have a 9-point lead, 36-27. Okay. The Bandits keep the game close as they answer back with a touchdown of their own. But on the 3-point conversion, the Bandits get stuffed on the goal line and fail to convert, giving the Mustangs a 3-point lead, 36-33, with 1:48 left in the game. The Mustangs keep the scoring going with another touchdown late in the game that gave them a 42-33 point lead with little time left on the clock for the Bandits, and that pretty much sealed the deal for the Mustangs as they proved to 6-1 on the season. I thought it, like you said, to lead off the show, it was game of the year worthy. What were your final thoughts on such a great game?
It was a game of inches, Steve, and then the defense won this game for the Mustangs with the few stops that they had. First, talking about the Mustangs stop at the 1-yard line on the attempted Hail Mary from Sioux City. And in the last Bandits touchdown, Isaiah McFarland and Nolan Burnett and Garrett Hamilton had an assist. Taz Wilson had a design run. He kept it from the shotgun. He got stuck literally right at the goal line. He was millimeters away from that goal line. And then the Mustangs getting the touchdown to almost put the game away, as a Ronald Tyler for the Bandits, who was just signed to the team almost had the Mustangs were called for on unsportsmanlike conduct that pushed the extra point back. Ronald Tyler almost took it to the end zone, and Deontay Jones stuffed him out of bounds at the 1 to keep the Mustangs in front. It just shows how much of a great atmosphere and just a great game that this CIF game brought to the fans of the league and also to the Mustangs and to the Bandits. Game of inches, Deontay Jones with that huge stuff, and the offense really coming alive in those final 2 minutes as Mike Pena was able to find Karan Higgins once again, who's really separating himself as one of the top receivers in the CIF. Just a game of inches, and the Mustangs were able to be on the other side of those plays.
Fantastic. Appreciate you being on the show tonight. Is there anybody you'd like to say hello to or give a shout out to?
Yes, sir, Stephen. I would like to. I give a shout out to my parents, my mom and dad. They have been so supportive throughout my journey here coming to Gillette. Shout out to all of the great Mustangs players, coaches, and fans. We hope to see you at Spirit Hall over at the Camplex on a Saturday as the Mustangs look to extend their winning streak against the Rapid City Marshals. The Mustangs defeated the Marshals earlier on in the season. Mustangs looking for a regular season sweep on Rapid City as they try to stay alive for that number 1 seed. But, oh boy, we'll see how Sioux City does against Omaha. They have 2 meetings against them this year left.
We'll see how it all shakes out. Thank you, Colton, for joining us on this episode of the Stampede. Until next time, go Mustangs.
Go Mustangs.